John had been in the hospital for 2 weeks. He was finally starting to feel better, and the doctors promised he'd be discharged in just a couple of days. That afternoon, John stood in the lunch line at the hospital cafeteria, trying to stay cheerful and people watching to pass the time. But then, his expression changed. A woman slowly walking down the corridor caught his eye. Something about her face, the way she carried herself, it struck him hard. His heart tightened with unpleasant memories. He prayed he was mistaken. But no. It was her. His former boss, Margaret Simmons. Only now, dressed in those cheap hospital clothes, she looked strangely out of place. Much older, weaker. Hard to believe she was barely pushing 60. 10 years ago, Margaret had been glamorous. As company director, she always wore expensive clothes and carried herself like a queen. But her personality, that was the real problem. She was arrogant, suspicious, and jealous. Back then, John had been her deputy. One day, during a board meeting, the executives praised John's work and joked that he could easily sit in the director's chair himself. That was the moment everything changed. Margaret made his life miserable. She gave him impossible projects designed to fail. She documented every small mistake, every late arrival, and hinted he'd soon be fired for cause. Eventually, the pressure broke him, he resigned. But she didn't stop there. Margaret spread rumors that John was incompetent, warning other companies not to hire him. His reputation tanked. For a while, he bounced between low-paying jobs before finally settling into manual work, far from the career he once had. And now here she was, shuffling past him, eyes dull, avoiding everyone's gaze. John knew life hadn't treated her kindly either. Rumor had it she'd been caught embezzling money. Not a huge amount, but enough to start a long investigation. She lost her position, got a suspended sentence, and no one would hire her again. When their eyes met in the hospital corridor, she froze. "Hello, Margaret," John said reluctantly. "Hello, John," she answered just as stiffly, unsure of what to do next. For a moment it was awkward. Two people who clearly didn't want to see each other standing in the same lunch line. "Here, come stand with me," John suddenly said. "My turn's coming up." She hesitated but stepped closer. They both picked up trays with the bland hospital lunch and, without planning to, sat down together at an empty table. "So," John asked, "how have you been living these days?" "Not great," she admitted quietly. "John, I need to say something. I'm sorry." "You know what for." "Let's not," he muttered. "Where are you working now?" "Nowhere." She shook her head. "What do you mean, nowhere?" "Not at all. No one will hire me. They don't want to deal with me anymore. I live on what little savings I had left. But they're almost gone." John leaned back, studying her. "But you were good at what you did. You could still consult freelance. People pay well for that." She gave a bitter smile. "Doesn't matter. Nobody wants me around. I'm toxic. That's the reputation I earned." She picked up her tray as if ready to leave. "I'll just eat in my room." "Wait," John stopped her. "I've got a project due at the end of the summer. I'll need help. Real help. And I remember the kind of work we used to do together. You're still the right person for it. Will you take it on?" She stared at him, suspicious. "Are you serious? You'd ask me, the woman who ruined your career, to help you? What's the catch? Is this some kind of joke?" "No joke," John said honestly. "I don't even know why I want to help you. Maybe because I know what it feels like to be crushed. I just want to give you a chance. What do you say?" "But if people see my name, they'll shut the project down immediately," she warned. "Then use a pseudonym. I'll make sure your work goes through without your presence being required. Payment will be handled quietly through my accounting department. Nobody has to know. Do we have a deal?" Margaret hesitated, but her eyes suddenly lit up with hope. "Your phone number still the same?" he asked. "Yes." "When are you being discharged?" "Next week, I think." "Good. I'll call you in 10 days. Start thinking about the outline. You haven't forgotten how to do that, have you?" "Of course not," she smiled faintly. Then after a pause she asked softly, "You're really serious about this?" "Dead serious. Whatever happened between us is over. From now on we start with a clean slate. Just one condition, your work has to be professional. You understand?" "More than you know," she whispered. She slowly stood up with her tray, then turned back before leaving. "I'll do it, John. We'll start fresh. Because, well, we both need a future." And John thought to himself, she's still a kind woman deep down, and not that old after all. Moral: do good for people even if they once did you wrong. Sooner or later, life has a way of repaying kindness.